so long and lovely.
I'm trying to grow it. I want to have like proper mermaid hair. That's the dream.
My hair like stops growing at a certain length.
Apparently everyone has that length that's the maximum it will grow to,
Yeah.
but I'm taking like supplements to try and
Are you like
get past
biotin
that.
or what else are you taking? Biotin's like an
least-
all natural one you can
Oh,
take.
maybe I'll try that.
Yeah.
Thanks for the tip.
Yeah, no worries. You free of charge.
Before you start, you've got 20 minutes.
20.
Okay, so I'll let you know when
Yeah,
you're...
feel free
Yes,
to
I will.
like
Yeah,
holler at
okay,
me.
fantastic.
Is that okay to have this in there?
Oh yeah, enjoy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, how come you're not having one?
I don't drink.
Oh,
I'm quite dull that way.
no, it's probably better for your health.
I don't feel it is. I could do with a good drink, to be honest.
Do you just not like it?
I've got like some, you don't want to know, but
like
some bad
digestive.
things happen when I do drink, yeah,
Oh.
and get weird rashes and stuff. It's not attractive.
I like that we're talking about this.
Yeah, good interview.
Yeah, totally.
People
I'm
really need to know.
interviewing you right now. I like it. The tables have turned.
No, we're going back onto you. Okay, I should do a proper intro.
No, don't do.
No,
That was really fun.
We'll just chat, shall we?
Yeah, just girls on a veranda
In the breeze.
in the breezy
Lovely.
sun.
You with your rosé.
Yeah,
Lucky you.
No, you're welcome to it, but I know that you don't like to
Don't
drink.
tempt me. I do
will.
like to.
Oh, you like to, but you
I
just
would
don't.
love- Yeah. Anyway, on to you.
I'll drink for you.
Thank you. So how are you feeling? Because yesterday it was a big day for you.
It was a big day.
Yeah. Are you feeling kind of relief, or are you still on adrenaline high? What's going on?
I still feel like I'm floating a little bit, and I went to bed at 2:30 this morning, and then got up at 6:30. So, I think I might also be slightly jet lagged too. But I'm just so pleased with how last night went. I mean, the reception was just above and beyond what I had even hoped for. But it felt like I was reclaiming myself. It felt really good to pick up where I left off. You know, last show for the Civil Wars was at the Roundhouse, and first show from Venus was also in London.
Right way to do it, isn't it? It seems
Yeah.
just correct. doesn't it?
Yeah, it just feels good to have journeyed so far and yet come right back too.
Yeah. And did you do the thing after the gig where you just trawl through Twitter to see what people are saying, or did you think, I'll give myself a break for a few hours, just go on the high?
Oh
and
God, Twitter is so, it's way too easy to access. So I look, but then I also, it was very late, so I also put it down.
Yeah.
But I was, I was so pleased that people really connected with music that largely no one has heard. So yet anyway. Yeah, it was a real thrill. I was definitely on an adrenaline high for several hours.
And did you manage to keep kind of emotions together? Because I imagine it's...
No.
No, not at all.
No, I was like, I almost cried twice.
good.
Yeah, which I don't normally do, but it was special last night. It was really special, and there was such a warm reception. So.
How did you cope in the space of time between completing the record and then waiting for it to come out? Do you work yourself up into like anxiety, or do you get frustrated that it's not out and that people don't know what you're talking about yet?
I mean, I had a baby in the last couple of years, and it feels a little bit like that in the way of you're sort of full of all of these songs, and you stretch and expand in order to write and create, and then you give birth to it, so to speak, in the studio, and then it's that sort of like, when you first have a baby, you kind of stay in for just a little bit, and then there's that point at which you go, okay, I'm ready to introduce to the rest of the world, this creation. That's a much more dramatic metaphor than I meant it to be, but
It worked though, didn't it?
I don't know if it did, but it felt like that. It felt like the necessary incubation time, and I think I needed that time to gear up for what's about to happen, and is happening, really.
Yeah, which is pretty big, isn't it?
Big for me, at least,
Well, I think in a lot of people's eyes it's quite big, isn't it?
Well, I'm excited about touring the world and being up on stage. I spent the last 4 or 5 years really proud of the music that I made with John Paul and the Civil Wars, but I also spent the last 4 or 5 years looking left, the whole time. And now I get to look wherever I please, and with a band that I love, and a state-of-the-art, set. So it feels really good.
Just right. It's where you're meant to be. It's what you're meant to be doing.
Yeah, I would have never anticipated that my life would have brought me to this point. But I think looking back, it is exactly where I need to be.
Now, talking about the production, it is absolutely stunning. I've seen in the photos. Like, how did you decide that you were going to have that rather than just being, raw on your own on stage?
Yeah. Well, I'm an innately curious person, so I don't ever want to really imitate what I've done before. Yeah. I want to find new territory, and I think if I feel those sort of butterflies, or I feel a little bit scared, I know I'm generally onto something good, for me at least. And so when I was making the music, I was sort of seeing these things that you're now seeing when you come to a show. I was seeing them in my mind's eye anyhow. So then I just thought, well, who's the best at this? And a company named 7 Design Works was in that category. Everything from like Prince to Sir Paul to Beyonce to Bruno to Jay to names that I'm jaw hits floor kind of names. And I thought, well, the worst they can say is no. But they didn't. They really connected to the music. They were really inspired by the music, and then I got to share my vision with them, and then they got to build it. And it's really, really fun to have that on stage. And it's a surprise, I think, to a lot of people that, I had been a part of the sort of like hum and strum, like very stripped down feel. Yeah. And it still feels very intimate to me, but I also wanted it to be really transportive. And people have been saying that they've been feeling that, so I feel like I've done part of my job.
Because I feel like when I listen to the record, I feel like I want to go travelling, or that I am travelling. I also think I feel quite spiritual and empowered, and I think those kind of images kind of just work with the music.
Oh, cool.
Just seems kind of a good marriage there, I think.
Yeah, thank you. It is about going on a journey, and I think, for lack of a better word, when talking about a record called Venus, I think what I was interested in was creating space for what is some really vulnerable emotion, but also I think what's important too is it's not always what you say, it's what you don't say. And that in art, that in painting, they call that negative space. And I wanted to find a way in which to be absolutely honest and authentic and tell my true story without necessarily telling all of the details, and find a way in which I could create space so that the music could take you on a journey, just enough maybe to let your own emotions kind of peek their way through, to where you felt a little more alive and a little less alone for having listened to the music. Starting with me, that was my goal.
Yeah, I definitely feel a bit more like empowered after.
Good. I saw those shoulders go up.
Like I need that.
I need it too. I wrote it in part for my own, healing, and I needed that too. So I'm glad.
It's nice that it delivers it to other people.
Yeah, that's one of the great joys of making music for me.
A lot of people wanted me to ask you actually about the video, because the concept and your role in the video is quite a brave thing to do and to tackle.
Like, you mean being naked?
Well, in part, yeah. Like, mentally, how did you get prepared for that? And was it your idea, or was it the director?
My idea. It was my idea. That video is not about sex. That video is about being vulnerable. And if you see it in that way, I'm not moving, when I'm without clothing. I'm not moving in a seductive way. I'm moving and I'm posed in a way that is very human and about vulnerability. Like I said, I felt like I had to shed so much in the process of moving on and making this music. It just felt like it made sense. And the song itself is about owning who you are, imperfections, strengths, weaknesses, all the many layers of who we are as people, and in particular being a woman, obviously. And what it's like. There's so much, there's so many layers to who we are. And that is why I wrote the line, I'm a universe wrapped in skin, because there's always more than meets the eye.
Not everyone gets to see it, or rarely does it.
No, true.
A lot of people do seem to have grasped the concept. They don't see it as this sexualised female on screen, which is good. But a lot of people have tried to do it before and have failed. So did that kind of make you wary of doing a video like that? Were you very careful about how it was done along the way?
I was very particular about what kind of shots happened, and my husband was, on set. He's also my manager too. But Nate and I talked a lot about, with the director too, about, no, I don't know. That pose is not, that doesn't feel like me. It was what's the most human? Because I'm concerned the most about authenticity, and that was the way that I wrote the album. Is it true, even if only to me? And that was one of the markers by which I used to write. But it's very vulnerable laying there with no clothes. But it's also very vulnerable to write in the way that I have. And I wrote about a multitude of things, not just the Civil War's ending, but a lot of life happened to me in that span of time. Becoming a new mom and having to totally retool my relationship with Nate. We'd been married a long time and got married as kids, and we got to a glass ceiling and had to figure out what to do with that. And I'm glad to say that we moved through it, or punched through it, I guess. What would the metaphor be? But we broke through it to another side that's even richer and more beautiful than before. And then my dad, was diagnosed and subsequently passed away from cancer, all in the same span of time. But I don't know, there's something about when you go through the crucible of all of those things, if you don't look away, but you open your eyes to it. And that's kind of what Until the Levee is. Like, I wrote, if you look into those hard places, you realize that maybe they're not as scary as you thought that they were, and that you can be changed, but not always for the worse. It can actually be, you can become more awake for having looked into those spaces. And I feel a little bit like that.
That's good.
Yeah.
It's a nice way to embrace these life events, isn't it? Just to find something in them that's useful.
Yeah, I don't know if it was nice as much as just the only way I've been able to make sense of it. Yeah, that and therapy and red wine.
Yeah, see, I do the therapy bit, I can't do the wine. Damn it. Maltesers, though, that's the alternative.
That's amazing. Yeah, again, I'll have it for you.
Yeah, please drink up,
Yeah.
People want me to talk to you about being a mother, and still being an artist, because I think some people think as soon as you're a mother, everything changes about you. You have no focus on career or anything like that, but you seem, if anything, more focused and passionate about it.
Yeah, I am more focused than I've ever been. Having Miles was one of the greatest gifts of my entire life, and it still remains that way. And life got exponentially more busy. Like, I thought I was so busy before I had a baby, and then I had a baby, and then I was like, what did I do with all that free time that I thought I was so busy with? But it means now that I am more determined than I've ever been before, because any time, any minute that I'm in studio or away means that time I'm away from him. And so I don't suffer fools. I don't want to mince words. I want to make everything count. And I think going into that space where it's about taking care of someone else, at least it's opened me up in a way that I think's made me more soulful. So I think that I would like to think, apart from being tired and toys on the floor, which is so normal, and that there's more depth to the songs now. Yeah.
They always say mothers get a bit more emotional, like they see...
I have no idea what you're talking about, as I was crying like 2 times, almost crying yesterday. Sorry, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
I have no idea what I was going to say.
Oh, cool. That happens to you too? Yeah. Me too.
Absolute brain fog.
No worries. That's what it feels like to be a new mom. So you're like, yeah.
I'm prepared then for the future. That's good.
Yeah. Be prepared to completely be so in love, and also like, what the hell am I doing? Because when you have a new baby, it's a lot of times it's like making music, because you sort of know what key you're in, You obviously know you want to love and nurture this person and help him, at least in my case, help Miles learn how to navigate the world and be a kind, giving, curious, open human being. Well said. But then it's also like, I don't know what I'm doing. It's like musical improv.
Yeah.
You're always zigging and zagging, but that's what makes life interesting.
Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Absolutely.
Sometimes the tune is a bit...
Yeah, sometimes the tune that day is, well, we'll try again tomorrow. That's sometimes that too, but that's just real life.
Yeah.
You know, it's like that in any relationship, really. Yeah, I've never laughed harder than I have with Miles. And, yeah, I don't know. I'm talking too much. Anyways, yeah. Next
That's
question.
what you're here for.
Next question.
Okay.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Talking about relationships, I want to talk about Matt Morris because...
Yeah. Do you know Matt?
I don't know. I've never met
So
him.
you talked about him so...
My mate Matt.
Yeah.
Elias.
I think you would like him, though, if you met him.
I just wondered why Justin thought that you two would be a good pairing, like why he suggested him specifically for you.
You know, that is a great question that you should maybe ask him, because I haven't even asked him that yet.
Like I can speak to Justin Timberlake like that. I just bring it up.
It's still a little surreal to me too that's how I met Matt Morris. You know, Justin has become a really great friend, and we met backstage at David Letterman in 2011, and then we just sort of kept an eye on each other's careers, and then when the Civil Wars ended, it was really nice to have a friend to talk to about, hey, how did you move from being in a group to a solo career? Yeah. And he's just the most wonderful person. He's become a really good comrade to Nate and to me. And I think Justin just had it, when we've talked about it since, I think Justin said he just had like a sixth sense. Or at least that's what I'm paraphrasing, but he just seemed to have a sixth sense. I feel like he knows me pretty well in the realm of artist and an overall disposition, and he's such a helping spirit too. That I think he just had a gut instinct that Matt and I would get along really well, and we did. It was like instant friendship from the moment we met, and then Matt was the one that helped me sort of become even more brave in what I knew I needed to say, but hadn't yet given myself the permission to do that. Yeah. But once I did, it's like the floodgates opened, and I'm really proud of the music that we've, made in collaboration. I've always collaborated. I think a lot of people go, well, you just collaborated in the Civil Wars, but I was collaborating when I was making solo music as a teenager, and as a staff writer in LA, and then as a duo partner in the Civil Wars, and I had a tribe of collaborators on Venus too. And I feel like I'm bringing the best out of myself when I'm working in collaboration with really special people as well, that are interested in drawing the best out of me.
Is it sometimes good when you find someone that you don't actually have that instant connection with, that's a bit more challenging? Do you find you get interesting things out of those kind of partnerships as well, or do you prefer it to be easier?
I would say co-writes are a lot like first dates.
Oh, God.
Yeah, right?
Maybe instant sweat.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. A lot of them feel like that, where you're just sort of like, here's me, how much are you going to give to? And you're seeing if there's any kind of like rhythm or symbiosis, and if it's not there, it's like dreadfully long, and then you suddenly have to be somewhere else. But I think it's not just, can I work with anybody? I don't want to just work with anybody. I want to work with someone that I feel is a really active listener and interested in being brave and saying the things that haven't been said before, at least for me.
Do you take it all right if someone has to be brutally honest with you and say, look, Joy, I know you like this bit, but it's not working at all from my perspective? How do you take that?
I'm generally the first person that says that, but I mean, Matt was like that with me. I wrote almost 80 songs for this album, and I think I was like 50 or so in when Justin connected me with Matt. And the first co-write that we had, I think I was hedging a little bit. I was tired. I'd written 50 songs, and I'd been in studios, and I'd been in Nashville, and I'd been in LA, and my husband and I bought a place in Venice Beach, and so I was writing out of LA too, and I felt like I just wasn't breaking through to that next threshold. And Matt was the one that was like, look, I think you're so afraid to say something wrong that you're at risk of saying nothing at all. Which felt like a gut punch, but in the most loving way. It was exactly what I needed to hear. Whether or not that felt comfortable at the time, you know, but once I was done crying, which was what happened, I was able to start saying it like it is. And that the first song that we wrote was a song called One Day I Will. And literally every line in that song is just me talking. It's not overly manicured. But it was like I was finding my inner resilient spirit while I was writing that song. And like by the end of the song, there's a totally different emotion to how I'm singing than it is when I started. And this whole process of writing Venus was such a journey, and about finding that hope and that fight within myself to stand on my own 2 feet again. And I'm glad to say that I feel like I'm more in that space than I've ever been.
That sounds like a really nice way to wrap this interview up. I think my time's up, but that's a nice positive way to end it, isn't it?
Yeah, well, thanks for hanging out.
Nice to meet
sunny
you.
Day.
Yeah, a rare sunny day in London.
I know. I'm glad you got my rider that it needed to be sunny. Yeah, Southern California.
And the rosé wine.
And the rosé.
Done. Tick, tick.
What a diva.
So when do we get you back in London, though, before you go?
Oh, soon, I hope. I mean, when the record comes out in June, we're talking about coming back. I like it too much here.
Good.
Yeah.
Glad to hear it.
Yeah.
See you then, hopefully.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay. Bye.